The front door clicked shut behind me, a sound sharp enough to cut through the humid evening air of Willow Creek Estates. I stepped into the entryway, my voice steady but laced with steel. "Laura, you can't just barge into my house uninvited." My daughter, Emma, stood behind me, arms folded, her gaze like a laser on the woman before us. "That master key you're using? It didn't log your entry." I leaned in slightly, my words deliberate. "I'm Claire Dawson, and I've already patched the lock firmware to flag unauthorized access. So, where are you watching this from?" Stay tuned, because this just got personal. When I first settled into Willow Creek, it was just me, my late father, and the old porch swing he'd built beneath the sprawling oak tree in our yard. He passed 2 years ago, right as the leaves turned amber, leaving behind that tree and a legacy worth more than any HOA handbook. Laura Hensley, the HOA president, offered a thin smile. "Routine check, Claire. Section B9 gives us the right." I didn't flinch. "Your right doesn't trump property law. This house came from my dad, a Marine who hammered that swing together after his last tour. You want in? You ask me." Emma stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You left our back door unlocked at midnight again. My phone pinged when your key triggered the system." Laura's brow furrowed, but she waved it off. "Fine, I'll schedule it." My tone dropped, cold and firm. "Put it in writing, or don't come back." I coded the locks myself. "Every entry's logged. Want to test me?" "Knock." She hesitated, then muttered, "We'll talk tomorrow." Documented. Emma and I exchanged a glance, a small win, but enough to show we weren't folding. The oak shadow stretched across the swing as I paused by it, sunlight glinting off the worn wood. "This was his favorite spot," I told Emma softly. "He'd sit here with you when you were little, saying this swing held our family together." Laura cleared her throat, her heels scraping the porch. "I get it, Claire. We'll keep it formal." "Good," I said, stepping closer. "Because I'm done with your games, especially after those notices you've been sliding under our door." She nodded stiffly and left. Emma set her phone down. "Got it all recorded." I exhaled. Now we wait and watch. Morning light filtered through the oak leaves as Emma and I stepped outside. She carried a pizza box from last night and a printout of the lock logs. 6 entries after midnight, she whispered. Same pattern. I scanned the street, spotting 2 HOA notices pinned to our mailbox. Flagpole too high. Exterior paint too bold. Vintage paint's not code, I muttered. We drove to the hardware store, picking a compliant shade. Emma teased. "Honoring the legacy, huh?" I smirked. "Your grandpa warned me about types like Laura." Back home, I painted while Emma chalked a stream on the sidewalk for her cousins. Across the street, Laura hovered, barking orders at a neighbor repainting their trim. She glanced over. I nodded politely. She returned a curt nod, then resumed her tirade. 15 minutes later, a knock. Another notice, this one for curb parking, with no details, just a fine. I dropped it into the rosemary planter, my mother's old favorite. Emma touched my arm. "This is escalating." I poured iced tea and sat on the swing, its boards creaking like my father's old stories. He'd warned me, small rules breed bigger demands. Inside, Emma rigged extra cameras around the swing and oak. If Laura wanted our porch, she'd be on tape. That afternoon, the HOA portal showed a new rule: mandatory tree trimming within 5 feet of the trunk, vaguely worded to include our oak. I laughed, printed the bylaw, circled the sloppy clause, and emailed Laura, citing state law requiring registered mail for such changes. Her reply? "We'll review." A crack in her armor. Dusk fell, and Emma found a parking cone taped to the swing with a scrawled note: "Swing not HOA approved." The ink was smudged, sloppy. Anger surged, but Emma steadied me. "They want to fight? Fine." We tore it down, and I pounded the final nail into the swing's fresh navy paint, Dad's color. That night, we logged every HOA move. Entries, notices, rule changes. Their aggression was growing, but so was our evidence. The next morning, 2 men in uniform stood on my lawn, clipboards in hand. "Here to check your swing's structural compliance," one said. "HOA claims it's a safety hazard." I stared at the swing, hurricane bolts, reinforced chains, survivor of a tornado. "It's not moving," I said flatly. "You've got no jurisdiction." They shrugged. "Just contractors. They've already filed for inspection." I pointed at the oak. "That tree predates your charter." You think a clause about leisure seating holds up in court? They left, and Emma grinned. We're getting to them. That night, I learned the complaint came from Susan Carter, an HOA board member who'd once baked us pies. She hadn't spoken to me since Laura's reign began. I confronted her the next day as she walked her dog. Susan, why's Laura targeting us over a swing? Her face tightened. I'm not supposed to talk. I pressed. You know it's safe. You saw Dad build it. She slowed, her voice cracking. I didn't sign that complaint. Laura used my name. My pulse quickened. She forged it. Susan didn't confirm, but her silence screamed. I just want to keep my job, she whispered, walking away. Laura's grip was slipping. Later, Laura posted a new HOA rule. Recording board members without consent could lead to fines or lawsuits. Emma laughed. She's scared of our footage. I checked our server logs. The porch camera showed a glint at 2:11 a.m. key, barely out of frame. She's testing the locks, Emma said. I installed a second deadbolt and angled the swing higher, fully in view, with a sign, surveillance active. Legal counsel retained. At breakfast, Emma handed me a folder from the closet Dad's old HOA notes. His handwriting marked a clause, emergency access only for life-threatening situations. Unauthorized entry is trespassing. We need to push legally, Emma said. I nodded. Not yet. We build the case and wait. Laura's voice crackled through an audio recorder Susan had slipped to Emma. If they won't sell, we push them out. Fines, restrictions, violations. They'll cave. Another voice tom. The groundskeeper sounded uneasy. And if they don't? Laura's reply was ice. We escalate quietly. My blood ran cold. They weren't just harassing us. They were running a scheme to force families out and buy low. I didn't sleep, digging through Dad's old banker's box instead. Blueprints, clippings, the original HOA charter. Tucked away, a flash drive held meeting minutes from years before Laura's time, including a rule. Legacy homeowners retain unconditional access to security systems. Laura's lock changes were illegal. A thud woke us at dawn. A notice was nailed into the swing. Unauthorized structure. Remove in 48 hours. Emma gasped. They touched Grandpa's swing. I ripped it off, knuckles white. Susan was watering her ferns when I approached. I heard the recording, I said. It's damning. Her hands shook. They want you gone, Claire. You remind them this place wasn't always theirs. I pressed. Will you testify? She paled. Not yet. But take this. She slipped me an envelope. Names, dates, families harassed by Laura's tactics. A pattern. That night, I drafted a report, piecing together Laura's real estate pipeline bullying residents, buying cheap, flipping high. Emma sorted documents, her eyes fierce. It's bigger than us. I nodded, sitting on the swing, tracing Dad's carved initials. He'd say document everything. Never let them rewrite history. The HOA meeting was a powder keg. I stood at the community center table, voice like a blade. Want to talk safety, Laura? Explained breaking into my home with a master key, caught by my daughter. Gasps rippled. Emma called from the back. I've got the video. Ready to share. Susan stood, trembling. Laura kept override codes for every lock. She used them to snoop, not for emergencies. The room erupted. I held up a thumb drive. 93 violations, most issued when I was away. That's stalking. A lawyer muttered, Fourth Amendment breach. Another voice, criminal trespass. A woman moved for a no-confidence vote. It passed in seconds. Laura's power crumbled. Back home, the oak's shadow draped the swing. Emma opened the door, fearless. You coming? I ran my hand over the swing's heart-carved arm. Yeah. Inside, the house smelled of coffee and peace. Diane took interim leadership, and locks were reset. Emma tossed me a spare master key Susan had surrendered. Time for a clean slate, she said. We sat on the swing, moonlight stitching shadows across the porch. Grandpa said this swing would outlive us, I told Emma. It holds the weight when life gets heavy. She leaned into me. It did. The fight wasn't over, lawsuits loomed, but we'd stood our ground. Laura underestimated us, but she forgot. This wasn't just a house. It was our home, carved with love and defended with fire. Have you ever faced a power-hungry HOA or fought for your family's legacy? Share your story below and tell me where you're watching from. Let's show them we're not backing down.